I found myself with some confusion, and now I'm hoping that you can give me some guidance. I just love the idea of the vibration and establishing the vibration for what I want. I, like probably a lot of other people, have got into the idea of action. So if I want good health, I have to eat this way, and I have to do this, and I have to look for herbs, and I have to read this, and and all these doing. I'm just looking to see if there's a balance between the energy I put into achieving that proper vibration and the doingness that I do, how much attention I should put on that.
Well, there is a balance, and we like the clarity with which you have expressed this, and so we'll begin by saying to you, action that is inspired from alignment is delicious action. Action that is inspired from awareness of what might go wrong, which is action that is not inspired. In other words, that's sort of like motivated. Inspired action is source calling you. Motivated action is my awareness of what could go wrong and my choosing action from that perspective, and they're very different. Next, we want to say to you that over time, through trial and error of life, you have come to many beliefs. Now, a belief is not about truth, although it can be. Well, every belief is really true, because a belief is a thought that you keep thinking, so it's an activated vibration. And law of attraction will respond to that activation. And eventually, it will manifest, and then you will call it truth or reality. So, you have, almost all of you, beliefs about things that don't serve you. And the way that comes about is that people use all kinds of things as their criteria for whether they should give their attention to it or not, rather than the way it feels. Esther laughs at herself because sometimes she will admit she would rather be right than feel good. We said to her the other day, she was contemplating something, and she said, "But Abraham, I believe that my assumption is right." In other words, I know what that person is thinking and doing. I believe that my assumption is right. And we said, your assumption is right, but it is not serving you. Isn't that interesting? You're dead right. Your assumption is absolutely right. But the more you beat the drum of that, the more you deprive yourself of the alignment, which is where your joy is. So what happens is, as you live life, you come to all kinds of assumptions because they've been shown to you by others. Sometimes people will say, "But Abraham, it's true. Therefore, I should give my attention to it." And we say, because something is true only means somebody focused there long enough that they made it their reality. So now we're just going to give you some very hard facts about law of attraction. If you believe that some food that you might eat is detrimental or inappropriate, and you eat it, you've got chaos in your vibration, and you're going to get detrimental results. What happens to people is, instead of working on lining up the way they feel, they want the world to come into agreement about whether that really is detrimental or whether it isn't. They want something outside of them to decide what's right and wrong to eat, what's good and bad to eat, what's healthy and not healthy to eat. And what we want to say to you is that if you will disregard what everything outside of you is telling you, and you will decide that you're going to line up your energy, now not only will you find things that you want to eat that will benefit you, but you will discover that there are all kinds of things that you formerly thought you shouldn't eat that you can very well eat and still experience well-being from them. Your body is a veritable chemical factory. It is more sophisticated than any factory that you have on your planet. And it has the ability to take whatever it is that you consume and extract from it what is valuable and put it together in various combinations in order to give you the nutrition that the cells of your body are asking for. Your body is a fascinating mechanism in that you have trillions of cells that are wanting different things for different reasons at different times from different foods. And the intelligence of your body has not even begun to be understood by the scientific or medical community. So it's sort of like surgery with a chainsaw, the way humans approach their physical body. It's a very bulky approach to it. So we would put things into very simple terms. If we were standing in your physical shoes and our upbringing had taught us that certain foods were inappropriate, so much so that when we eat them we feel uneasiness, guilt or fear or concern. Rather than stopping and saying, something's wrong with that food, and that's why I feel bad in eating it, we would say something far more accurate. My thought about this food and my corresponding action are out of whack. In other words, you could be in alignment by not eating that food. That would bring you into alignment. Or by changing the way you feel about the food when you eat it. But the last thing we would do is eat the food and feel bad about it, because that's just asking for vibrational contradiction. There are so many people eating a variety of foods and getting different responses from them. You just must know that there's something else in the equation other than the action of eating or not eating the food. So then you begin saying, all right, my goal is to approach my life in alignment, which means when I think of that person, I'm going to reach for the thoughts that feel best to me when I think about that person. When I think about that piece of food, I'm going to reach for the thoughts that feel best to me about that piece of food. In other words, no matter what it is, you're seeking alignment with Source. Esther was delivered a piece of fish last night in a restaurant, and when the plate was set on the table, she felt an aversion to it. She actually backed right up from it. And Jerry noticed it and said, "What's wrong?" And Esther said, "I'm not sure." When she put her nose closer to it, she said, "It doesn't smell right to me." And so she just put it on another plate and did not eat it. Now, we are not encouraging you to push through. In other words, whether there was something wrong with that fish or not, or whether Esther just thought there was something wrong with that fish, eating it would not have been a good thing to her. There are many people who get sick on food that somebody else could eat and not get sick on. So how do you explain that? Was there something wrong with the food, or was there just vibrational discord? And we say, we don't see what possible difference it makes. In other words, we don't want you to try to get the world to come into agreement. We just want you to come into agreement. Most of you are like a two-headed monster, and you got one head going that way and one head going that way. We just want both heads to go in the same direction. So when who you really are and who you are being in this moment are in alignment, you will thrive, you see. And you could take any subject, whether it is a subject of food or a subject of behavior or a subject of religion. You just have to finally come round to understanding that there is not one right way of approaching life. You are much more complex beings than that. And so when you say, I'm going to come into alignment with me. So then you say, well, what is my reason for eating? So you say, my reason for eating is 100% only to fuel my body. And we say, really, we've never met one that was really the case. Are you sure that there are not other intentions that you hold? And you say, well, yes, when I think about it, I do like taking care of my body. I want to give my body the very best possible nutrition because I like the idea of the fueling of it. I also find that I enjoy the social aspects of food. I like savoring, I like co-creating, I like interacting, I like the taste of food, I like the pleasure of food. So I like the pleasure of food and I like the value of food. Those are my intentions. So many humans get cross-current of that because they really believe that they can't have pleasurable food and valuable food at the same time. And so a part of them is asking for the pleasure, and another part is asking for the value, and then they say, pleasure there but no value, value there but no pleasure, pleasure there but no value. And we say, you're doing it to yourselves. There's value in everything that you eat if you could get into alignment with it, and there's pleasure in so much that you see as value if you would get into alignment with it, you see. It's a vibrational alignment. We wouldn't wait until we're at the restaurant where someone's offering us something and try to use that moment in time to catch up vibrationally with everything that we've been doing forevermore. Instead, we would begin looking down the road, and we would begin saying, next month or the month after, I'm going to be in total alignment with food. And in the meantime, I'm going to begin gravitating more and more to the things that are of vibrational value to me. I'm going to begin reaping the benefit of all of the wonderful food that is available to me. And then you can shore that up by saying, and I'm going to, in my appreciation of food and in my appreciation of life, in my appreciation of so many things, I'm going to get more and more in alignment with my source. And as I get in alignment with my source, I'll be able to feel the alignment of my food. The more you are positively anticipating, and the more that you are hanging out in the vibration of well-being as you are thinking about food, then the more accurate your indicators will be when you are trying to decide whether or not you should participate in something. So at the counter last night as they check in, the lovely girl gives them hot cookies in a bag. Esther could hardly wait to get her hands on her hot cookie. Now, she knows from former thoughts and from past experience, in other words, she wants to call the cookie decadent. She wants to call the cookie bad. She wants to call the cookie all kinds of things that she's learned from her past, but she felt a true eagerness for that cookie, a true eagerness for the cookie. So what does that mean? Does that mean that the pleasure of the cookie and Esther's alignment were in place, or does it mean the pleasure outweighed her believing of value? What does it mean? And we say, when you come into alignment with who you are, you don't have to take one or the other. There can be value in the pleasure, and that's the thing that we want you to understand. The cells of your body, the chemical factory that is you, knows how to extract the value from everything, and your inner being knows. Believe it or not, and most humans have a hard time accepting this, your inner being knows that there is value for you in pleasure. How can you not know that? There is value for you in pleasure. In other words, you keep wanting to turn your boat upstream, and you keep wanting the struggle to be the place from where your well-being comes. And so you get yourself in attitudes of deprivation or in attitudes of not allowing. And we want you to understand that there is a fabulous marriage between value and pleasure. And when you finally get it, when you're reaching for those goosebumps, when you are following the path of enthusiasm, and so quite often you'll feel enthusiasm for a cookie, and halfway into the first bite, the enthusiasm is replaced with guilt. Don't eat the cookie when you feel guilty. Not because the cookie has changed, but because your vibration has changed. You get a sense of what we're talking about? So what is our message here? Get happy about the cookie or do not eat it. Get happy about the salad or do not eat it. Someone says, Abraham, is there really a monster in the bushes, or do I just think there's a monster in the bushes? I'm feeling apprehension. Is there a monster in the bushes? And we say, in any case, get off the bench. Because whether there's a monster in the bushes or whether you just think there's a monster in the bushes, you got fear going on that is detrimental to your being. And so this is where that action comes in. So you get up and you move yourself away from where you think the monster is. And we say, that's got to be better than sitting there in fear that there's a monster there. But eventually, we want it to be about alignment, not about running from the monster. Eventually, we want you to be so tuned in, tapped and turned on that when you're sitting on the bench, you know that well-being is yours. You can be on a bench surrounded by monsters, and the monster will not negatively affect you if your vibration's in the right place. Do you know that? The monster is not in charge of your life. Your attention to the monster and its effect upon your vibration is what is in charge of your life. This is deep stuff. Are you getting it? So, is the cookie a monster or not? Well, you decide. You decide. Make peace with it. and let the cells of your body extract the benefit from it, and no longer say there is valuable food and there is desirable food, but they are not the same, because they can be the same. Yes?
I thank you so much.
Yes.
That helps tremendously.